Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is giving thanks, given that it is Thanksgiving. So, at least here in the US. So, I want to take the time today to really focus on our blessings. Wherever we are in life, there are blessings to be found. And we so often focus on what's missing. Today, we get to focus on the bounty that we experience in our lives and to amplify that experience. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world, lighting up the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel that wonderful sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and bring yourselves present to this remarkable physical form that allows you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving to all of those in the US celebrating. Happy Thanksgiving. And to all of those who are not in the US, why not take the opportunity to celebrate and give thanks? So that's what we're up to today. I think it's pretty amazing. I know that this is a bit of a transformation of the holiday, but it's pretty amazing to have a holiday that we get to devote to our appreciation. And I don't know that that's the path that most people take for this holiday. However, I think we get the opportunity to make this a holiday about appreciation and gratitude. And I know it's a really, really tough time of year for a lot of people this holiday season. And I know that it's a time of year where we can really very deeply feel the lack, where we can feel alone, we can feel what's missing, particularly in family, where we may be having, there may be battles within our family and disagreements and separation. And I know that this is a tough time of year to move through for so many people. And I just want to suggest that perhaps we can reframe that for ourselves today. It may take deliberate effort. It may take concentrated focus of attention to redirect our focus to the bounty that we have, no matter what our circumstances, no matter how bad our circumstances are, no matter how much discord there may be in our lives, there is always something to be able to find in our lives that is worthy of our appreciation. And so it may be our health. Maybe you're struggling with your health. And even if you're struggling with your health, there are aspects of your beingness even your physical beingness, that you can appreciate, that you can be grateful for. I know that when we're in pain, pain takes our focus, and it takes a deliberate, conscious effort to redirect our attention to what works. I think as a culture, we're conditioned in so many ways to what is not working. We're conditioned to what's missing. We're conditioned to be focusing on our loss or what's not enough. And I think that this day particularly is an opportunity to recalibrate and recognize the bounty, the miracles that we have in our lives, even on a very, very, very most basic level. Good morning, Dido. Happy Thanksgiving. So good to be sharing this morning with you. And we're talking today about appreciation for the blessings, to be looking for and counting the blessings, because they're unlimited. We can start with something as basic as breathing. And I can tell you, I just went through COVID, and I am very grateful that breathing for me during COVID was not an issue. And I know that for so many people, it is. And I grew up having asthma. And so the gift of breathing that we just take for granted, this is fundamental to living, right? If you can't breathe, you can't live. And many of us struggle to have a breath. And so if you're able to have a breath and breathe deeply, this is such a profound gift. This is such a profound gift. To be able to have our faculties, to be able to have our senses, to be able to experience the magnificence of life, that, to feel it, to taste it, to smell it, to hear it, to see it, I know that this could sound Pollyanna, but really, really, when we connect to the magic and the bounty and the miracle of so much of what we take for granted, we get so swept up in responsibilities or ideas of who we should be or what we should be doing, or even just to-dos. We get swept up in all of the doingness. And, for so many people today who have the benefit of bounty of food, for people today who are gifted with more than enough to eat, we get to be humbled to recognize that that's a profound gift, that not everybody in the world, let alone in our country, let alone in our city, wherever we are, has enough to eat, let alone incredible bounty. We get to realize how blessed we are to have the people we have in our lives. Maybe there are people in your life that you miss terribly, who are absent for whatever reason. Maybe there are such losses. The holidays bring up so many memories and losses. And we get to turn that around. We get to take a moment to be appreciative for having had those people in our lives, or for having the other people that we have in our lives, or for having the furry friends we have in our lives, or for having the freedoms we have in our lives. I think it's so important to be recognizing and appreciating our freedoms and not taking them for granted, especially now as the world is becoming much more restricted in so many ways. Dido says, I'm feeling grateful that I'm feeling better now after yesterday afternoon's bout of sickness. I'm so sorry you were sick yesterday, Dido, but I'm not well enough to get out today, but grateful I can rest up. I'm so glad that you're feeling somewhat better. I'm sorry that you're not well. That's a shame on Thanksgiving. I'm grateful that you're feeling better than yesterday. I'm wondering, is this like a COVID sickness or a flu or a cold or a digestive thing? I'm hoping you're okay. Good morning, April. Wow, I don't think I've seen you here before, and if so, not for quite a long time. Wonderful to have you joining us. Happy Thanksgiving to you. We're talking about blessings and how really in any moment, oh, migraine, ouch, Dido. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better soon, sweetheart. And I hope that lifts. Lots of change, right? Our bodies show stresses in all different ways. So we're talking about blessings, and even in the face of a migraine, even in the face of being bedridden, there are things to be grateful for. We can be grateful that it's not worse. There really truly is so much to presence ourselves to be appreciative for and grateful for. And the truth is that when we allow ourselves to deeply experience gratitude, it creates a physiological transformation. It does shift our chemical composite or composure or composition. Thank you. It changes our chemical composition to presence ourselves truly and deeply to gratitude, because that lives in the heart. And what it enables us to do is to presence ourselves to this expansive experience of appreciation and connection. And it's heart opening. It opens the way for experiencing even deeper love, to be appreciative, to be basking in the blessings. So I think that there's a difference, like there are ways to experience gratitude that are, I think, of higher frequency than others. For instance, I know that some forms of prayer feel like begging, like, oh, please, please, please make it better. And I promise I'll whatever, that's bargaining and begging. And it's a very different experience of prayer from presencing ourselves to the experience of our desire. When we allow ourselves to imagine ourselves having the experience of the thing we're praying for. So to be present to the outcome in prayer is very different from begging for it or asking for it, because that asking, that please, please, please part is keeping us separate from the receiving of the request. Whereas if instead in our prayer, we allow ourselves to be in the state of receiving, in the state of having the fulfillment of that request or that desire, it's a very different place. It's an expansive, open, connected place rather than a place that's affirming lack. And I think that we can have this, there's a similar dynamic in the experience of gratitude. You know, gratitude can be experiencing the richness in its fullness, like to be filling ourselves up, to be feeling the fullness, versus, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, meaning like I'm not worthy on some level. So there is a way of experiencing gratitude that reinforces an unworthiness. And I want to make the distinction here of being in the presence of the bounty, being in the presence of the deservingness, the wholeness, the worthiness, that's how in being in gratitude from that place of worthiness and wholeness. It's a very different frequency from feeling like, thank you, thank you, thank you, I don't know what I did to deserve this. Good morning, Isabel. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you here with us. We're talking today about gratitude, appreciation, and blessings, and experiencing gratitude as a worthiness. I think not, you know, thank you for this blessing of which I'm unworthy, but rather experiencing the worthiness, experiencing the wholeness and the appreciation of the bounty, you know. And this may be, you know, maybe it's a subtlety, but I think it's a really important nuance to be in a space of deserving, you know, in a space, and not because you did anything particular, you know, to be in a sense, in a space of wholeness and worthiness and sufficiency. That's really, really like one of the main things that we talk about is sufficiency. You know, to be worthy and whole and sufficient without having to do anything, without having to prove anything, that we don't have to do or act in any particular way to be worthy, to be sufficient, that just by virtue of our being here, living alive, that we are worthy of life and we are worthy of receiving all the bounty that life offers us, and that there's nothing external that we have to do to earn that. We, just by virtue of being here, are worthy of that. I mean, if we look at nature, we look at the animal kingdom, these creatures, these wonderful, miraculous creatures live life. They just live, and they are worthy of life just by virtue of the fact that they're here. And that's the same for us. We have been subject to so much social conditioning that says we're only as good as, for instance, only as good as your next sale, or only as good as your education or your bank account or the number of friends you have or whatever your accomplishments are. And this is such a really devastating I want to say myth that has been perpetrated, that this belief structure that says we're not worthy unless ABC, that one person has more value than another, that that our value rests upon what we accomplish and what we do. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we're but a spark, we're but a very brief flicker in the history of the world. And humanity is just a very brief flicker, let alone each of us as individual humans on the planet. And there's nothing that we could do that's so important, that would make us more important than any other human. Like we talked about, thanks to Dido's comment yesterday about the evolution, we talked about how evolution is a collaborative, cooperative venture. And as such, each one of us has our crucial role to play in this vast network of interrelationship. And that crucial role doesn't need to be anything more than us being here, us living and breathing and doing whatever we do. As such, we are an integral and essential part of the matrix of life. And when we talk about counting blessings, and I even did this earlier, to, the way that we look at our blessings sometimes is in contrast to others. And I want to call myself out for having done that, to say, well, I am gifted to have so much more than so many, then that is my cause for being grateful. Whereas that comparison is part of this whole matrix of worthiness and othering. And so maybe we get to just be grateful for whatever we're experiencing, that we don't even need to make a comparison with others, that we get to just recognize how remarkable the gifts of living itself are, that we get to presence ourselves to the gift of life itself. And I know that when we're struggling, and again, this being that time of year where so many of those struggles are amplified because of the holidays, I know it's not always the easiest thing to be refocusing ourselves to appreciation and that heart opening gratitude that is appreciating the magic that is available to us in any moment if we choose to see it. I know that sometimes it's really, really hard to make that choice, but I encourage you at least to take a few minutes today to just look at your life with wonder, to look at the miraculous experiences, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, just the magic of being alive. Even in moments of heartbreak, to be feeling that experience, just the awareness that we have that capacity to have all these different experiences, that life is so rich with experience, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, that we get to take a minute. We get to take a minute and connect to the magic of that, to really allow ourselves the appreciation for this wild experience of being alive and all that it brings. And that in itself is beyond miraculous as a gift. And so I hope that you'll be able to find a few minutes at least today to presence yourself to how truly phenomenal, like as a phenomenon, this experience of living is. And the unfolding story that is each of our lives. And to just bask in that and appreciate that. Presence yourself to it. And give thanks. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I am so privileged to be with you. And I'm so grateful for you and for the time we share and your candid sharing and your open hearts. And I wish you, Isabel says, happy Thanksgiving and a blessed one. And I wish that to all of you to carry this opportunity for recognizing our blessings into our day and beyond. And April says, grateful to have popped in here with you this morning. Thank you, April. So good to have had you join us, truly. And wishes for all of you to experience the tremendous, unlimited bounty of life today, particularly. With so much love to you.